Is that camera at a good angle? It is at a good angle, surprisingly. Um, so this is a restream. So I was trying to compile and download all the videos of all the VODs, and apparently the VOD for this segment of the playthrough did not save. Oh god. Sorry about that. I was opening up my Twitch. Um, so since it didn't save, I am basically I'm just gonna rebroadcast. I'm gonna try to remember the specifics of what I talked about. But since it wasn't saved, I'm just gonna be looking at my notes again. Let me pull them up. Yeah, so I played from the missions Clean House through Highway of Death. It's another 4-mission chunk. Yeah, that's about it. If you don't know, just if you're watching this for the first time, it's going to be like an academic playthrough of the campaign of this game. I'm going to be talking about the representation of Middle Eastern people, my thoughts on it, referring to notes that I've taken previously on just different articles about Middle Eastern people. Yeah, so we're going to be starting off with Clean House. Clean House, this mission was really big in the marketing of this game. It was heavily marketed as part of the serious, edgy marketing campaign for Call of Duty Modern Warfare. It involves a no-knock raid on a house in, I believe, in somewhere. I don't really know. We'll see in the intro cutscene. But yeah, it is a no-knock raid, which is an incredibly controversial topic. You play as Kyle Garrick, who is a cop, although the raid is technically a raid by the British SAS.
Alex and Commander Karim's forces have destroyed General Barkov's forward operations base, temporarily limiting Russian air capability in Urzikstan. We need to move fast. Sergeant Garrick, thanks to your intel, we tracked the Alcatala cell responsible for the Piccadilly attack to a townhouse in North London. 3 SAS teams will get inside and connect the dots. If the Wolf is in possession of the stolen Russian gas in Urzikstan, we need to find him. Be advised, there may be non-combatants on target. Check your shots.
Yeah, so a big focus of this mission is that there are civilians, that there are civilian lives at stake, and you can shoot and kill the civilians. Do note that it does involve a failure state. However, it's different than trying to shoot your teammates. The game, as previously said in another stream, the game stops you from shooting your teammates. If I aim at him, they don't even let me shoot. I'm trying to pull the trigger. But if I try to shoot a civilian, it does let me pull the trigger, and it does kill them. The game does this and frames as a gameplay obstacle. But it's a civilian life, and you are playing a cop. Like, that imagery is still very strong, and it's still very much so there. So we are in London. Contrasting this to how the previous mission we played was shown, there's impeccable detail here. You can see the rust on, like, the carriage on this motorcycle. You can see the grime on the streets. It's incredibly detailed. Even the trash has, like, I don't know, depth. Compare this to the Middle Eastern city where all that same detail wasn't to make this it look realistic, when it said to make it look poor and run down. Didn't mean to say poor like that. It was kind of hateful. So the goal in this mission is to infiltrate and find out where this stolen gas was eventually put, if this terrorist cell actually captured the stolen gas. We do not know if this is where the MacGuffin in this game actually, if they actually have it. And they're okay with that.
This is the United Kingdom. Do you think anyone walks around worried that they're going to get blown up? Well, now they do. Alcatala is a household fucking name. You need to coordinate with the other groups. Paris, Moscow, Munich.
Oh my god. Yeah. So this game actually has you just shoot people who don't know they're being shot at. I mean, yeah, the attack started, but let's take a look at these characters. So we see this instrument, Middle Eastern origin, AK-47s, not Marlboro cigarettes. I do put a lot of focus on the detail work put in this game because it's such an impeccable amount of work for little things, and that impeccable amount of work shows intent. So here we have a clearly Middle Eastern woman, clearly Middle Eastern. Can you even see? Let me turn on the night vision. Clearly Middle Eastern man. He has the facial features of a Middle Eastern man. The eyebrows tell it. His eyebrows look like mine. This man right here. The difference is they are expatriates. Is that a correct term for that? They're British, and they're still terrorists, which is interesting because usually the stereotypes usually involve Middle Eastern people who are in the Middle East. However, this time they're people who've emigrated to a country to push a very problematic stereotype. So if you can't hear, you can see the subtitles of what these people are doing. They're terrified. They hear people coming to get them, so obviously they're going to be armed and they're going to try to fight back. And the game frames this as justifiable. Like, this man just shot up what I assume is like family members and killed them. And the thing is, the game frames this as it being okay. However, if it's 1 a.m. for God's sakes, if you heard someone rush into your house at 1 a.m. and you happened to have firearms, you would fight back. They apparently have hostages. We killed the guy, and then she literally picks up a gun. That scene is... this man, it's perpetuating a Middle East a stereotype against Middle Eastern men again, that they are incredibly misogynistic. And it's not to say misogyny doesn't exist in the Middle East. It is a very strong thing, and it's a big issue with the culture that a lot of people who've left the Middle East or are children of immigrants are dealing with and trying to fix. The fact that he uses what we assume is his friend or family member as a human shield, and she still fights for him, she's incredibly subservient to him, is problematic in so many different types of ways. That gun shot 4 times, and it's a double barrel shotgun. See, this imagery is just sad. It's these people fighting for their lives as military members flood their house. It literally makes me feel kind of nauseous. And like, look at how these people are set up. They're in full dark military gear, probably thousands upon thousands of dollars, and they're just raiding people who are probably dirt poor, living wall to wall, hella people in one room. Okay, so you're probably wondering why I did that. So this portion of the mission, after I think that says Private Sue would walk down, that man that I just killed would shoot him and kill him. The game allows you, I think it's an achievement called X-ray vision, that if you shoot through that door, it'll like go boom in the corner and like it'll award you the achievement. Because like somehow you knew that he was gonna die and you killed the guy through the door. That's why they had a unique voice line that said, "I hope he hit something." The fact is, though, if you actually happen to do that just as a player in the game, you're playing as a military member who blindly fires into a room to kill people who could be civilians. The game did say outright there may be civilians in this building, and they just let you kill him. Obviously, in the game sense, if I reloaded a save and went through that portion, I would see him die. I would see this man have a gun and kill him. But instead, the game lets you just kill him and doesn't outright say you shot what is presumably a non-combatant. They don't care. Look at these goggles. That's outrageous. Dude looks goofy. Moving forward. The fact that these segments were such a huge part of the marketing. Just punched him. Like, these people are literally living wall to wall. It's kind of sad. Have I seen a hookah yet? A single hookah? They love putting hookahs in Middle Eastern people's houses. They have like VHS tapes and old TVs. This game takes place in the modern day. Like they seem to be poor, which is so concerning because you are a military, you are a cop flooding this building. Dude literally puts his monitor on his PC. Like, God.
Good call on the door, Garrick. Right over the stairs.
Good call on the door. Literally, he says he commends you for shooting blindly into a room. God.
Bravo 6 taking the 3rd floor.
Yeah, so the fact that this was a huge part of the marketing is the developers wanted you to know that this was a dark, edgy game, as I've been emphasizing over and over and over again. I will not betray the wolf. They wanted this to be a figurehead. They wanted this to be a big thing people thought about when they played this game. However, it's really not what the gameplay is like. After this, I'm going to play probably a 1 round of multiplayer, and just to show you how tonally different it is from this. There's been no music this entire time. None at all. There's... Oh, shit. I'm reloading a checkpoint because I did not mean to do that. Yeah, the game kind of trains you to shoot at the first person you see, and they don't actually make me fail for that. She grabs her baby. This is a civilian, and the game let me shoot her. So the thing is, if I did shoot her and the baby was in here, you could shoot the baby. Call of Duty literally lets you shoot a baby. It does the same thing that I told you with the civilians. It causes a fail state. And it says do not shoot non-combatants. And actually with the baby, if you shoot the baby enough over and over again, the game literally says seriously. However, they don't let me shoot Sergeant Perng, but they let me shoot a random Middle Eastern child. There's literally toys in here. Like, it's... Kid has a Funko Pop. So then we go in here, and I assume we're going to find that child's father. Yep. Dude's in there. And yeah. He goes under the bed. Which is I don't blame him. But it's he's so desperate that he literally hides under the bed. And you can literally see the whites of his eyes glow in the... God. Yeah, I mean, there's not many Middle Eastern motifs in this house. If anything, they put, like, random satellite images or things. I think that could be considered a part of... I saw that same thing in the last mission. This same model. It was on a table in the first room. Like, I'm just looking for things that are stereotypical. Like, this is literally a room for a baby. This is a changing table. This is literally a changing table. They're so detailed with trying to make this place authentic and realistic, and you can literally kill civilians. So I guess they did get the realism on point. Bad joke. So this is the last room. It's the attic. I think I could do that.
Locked. I've got it. Try and take him alive.
That music was from World at War. Probably the first Call of Duty to take on a gritty, edgier tone. That music cue, I think, or at least it sounded like a callback to it. There should be somebody over here.
Clear.
The fact that they just let me shoot those civilians, like, I understand it's probably my fault for that, but you have to realize this game is trained and has been training me, and this series has been training its players. If you see movement, shoot it. Because if you can't, if you're not supposed to kill somebody, they won't let you do it. They literally won't.
Get down! Don't shoot! Don't shoot, please! They were going to kill me! They locked me in here!
Stop!
And he still shot her. She was reaching for... Okay, he killed her. Jacob Geller in his
She was going for a bloody detonator.
Good job we dropped it in.
We made the right call, sir.
dropped her. He's just slang for that.
Got a location on a wolf.
So Jacob Geller in his video does Call of Duty believe in anything?
The townhouse was a gold mine.
I'll let him talk.
Looks like we found the wolf. Communications from the laptop were tracked to Ramaza Hospital in Urzikstan, where the Al-Qatala leader is believed to be holed up. Farah's forces will track terror activity at the hospital, while a Marine ground force can be mobilized to advance on the complex. Echo 3-1 will capture the wolf for interrogation about the stolen Russian gas.
It's Arabic.
My soldiers confirm that the hospital is under siege. Al-Qatala has taken civilians as human shields. They're protecting someone.
Or something.
Tomorrow we find out.
All clear, sister.
Hadir is my best sniper. You can rely on him. And all my fighters.
Marines want their pound of flesh. They're leading the charge on this.
I told you we would help you.
And you're keeping your word.
I don't do this to keep my word. The invaders of my country have no regard for human life. The gas kills all things, even food and our gardens. If you use these tactics, you are my enemy.
No exceptions?
None. Al-Qatala has given my people a bad name, and we have paid dearly for their crimes. I want to see the wolf punished.
I'll make sure you're at the embassy for the handoff to Price.
And you? Where will you go when this is over?
Wherever they send me.
The unnamed they keep referring to.
Not exactly.
This game does have a really pervasive theme that, like, military authority and higher-ups in the hierarchy of military justice is a little too pervasive. Like, the people on the ground, the boots on the ground, they should be controlling their own actions, and they should be dictating where they go. So this is the beginning of Alex starting to switch sides from the U.S. towards Farah's forces. Granted, it's the same side because Farah's forces agree with Western beliefs and are okay with that. Couple things. Last mission, Jacob Geller, he said in his video, "Does Call of Duty believe in anything?" That
I'll be huffing it with the Marines.
Echo 3-1.
Griggs, returning character from Call of Duty 4.
Call me Alex. No locals on this one. Not my call. You Kareem?
All day.
Nice work hitting the Russians.
We share friends and enemies.
It's Safi.
Wish you fuck. I'll let you.
Roll, Alex. Damon.
Okay, so I'm gonna pause real quick. So Griggs is a returning character. You played alongside of him in several raids and operations in the Middle East in Call of Duty 4. They said no locals. It's a direct callback to the missions in Call of Duty 4 where you played alongside Griggs and the U.S. Marines and tanks and in the desert, and there's big bombastic helicopter sequences, and you'll see all that here. And it's a direct callback to it, and the fact that they're excluding Farah, pausing her characterization, pausing her character development, and basically excluding the Middle Eastern good guys just for a callback kind of shows their respect towards that entire faction. Going back, so there's a lot of... I hate patriotism so much. Good guys look like bad guys around here. Shit's fucked. Do you... Like, he literally just compared the good guys, like Farah's forces, to the bad guys. He said they look the same. He's directly referring to their ethnicity, their race. This is the same gun you used in the mission too. It's an M4 with a holographic sight. Dave Geller in his video, it's called "Did He Believe in Anything?" He would always talk. He brought up how Clean House was a remarkably well-designed mission, and I disagree a little bit. It's not that fun, but tonally, it's so messed up. You do a no-knock raid in Call of Duty instead of trying to use that as an opportunity to say, like, maybe no-knock raids are not okay, maybe what they did was not okay. They have Garrick outright say, so we did the right thing. And Price is damn right. They basically say, You literally fight alongside a tank too. It's a different kind of tank, but you still fight alongside a tank. God, this imagery is so similar to the game. I will give it to them though that this IED, that same sound effect is from the previous Call of Duty game. Oh, that was useless. That's also useless. Cool. Oh, I died. I don't really care if I have the greatest gameplay right now. I'm kind of mad at this game. So moving forward, smoke. Cool. By including that no-knock raid and by refusing to show both sides, the developers take a very clear perspective. You see dudes in masks. Like, come on, get a little creative with your enemy design. This part is kind of infuriating. By including that no-knock raid, they're clearly taking perspective. Even though the developers of the game repeatedly, always, all the time would talk about how they're not picking a side. The game is not political because they're not picking a side. They're just showing the perspectives. This perspective that they're showing of these people, it is still taking a very clear perspective. By having Price outright say, we did the right thing, they're saying that it was the right deal, the right thing to do. Yeah, so this is one of the bigger set pieces in the game. It's a big, more open place. Call of Duty is a very linear game, and the fact that they give you options and routes to go through a bigger playfield is something other than a corridor is kind of shocking. Like, they put a lot of attention into this. I didn't even see the dude in that shot though. Let's see it better now. No, this is. Probably won't be able to see him in there. Yep. Can't see me. Yeah, the developers always talk about how they're not pushing a perspective, they're simply giving basically players the options to choose their own perspective, see all sides, and dictate themselves which one is the correct one. Oh, that is not the right grenade to throw. But they're really not. By inherently having a protagonist and a defined antagonist, a hero and a villain, let me pull up a specific set of notes. They're saying that the heroes are the good guys, the we's that, you know, Rami Ismail defined that I mentioned earlier. They are who you should be empathizing with, who you should be relating to, and who you should believe are the righteous ones. I'm going to be referring to an article by the British Psychological Society moving forward, which is basically talking about how literature oftentimes defines their heroes and their villains. So heroes and villains historically through literature have the heroes have always kind of followed a pattern, at least until recent times. They're young, they're of prime reproductive age, they are easily relatable, they're attractive, and biologically we're inclined to empathize and relate to these people because of those qualities. Biology plays a lot into how we view narrative. And it's clear to see how the creators of this game, being white, biologically they look different than the people they're portraying a lot of the time. I'm not surprised that they paint Middle Eastern people as villains, because biologically they might be a little hardwired too. Maybe not inherently, they just need to be a little bit conscious of it. So heroes oftentimes fought for two things: love or altruism. This game, I think, is clear to acknowledge that the heroes don't really fight for love. That's not a thing they fight for. There's no sexual tension. There's no romance. Nothing of the sort. The British Psychological Society instead says that heroes fight for. This is their example of a puzzle. Fight for altruism. They fight for the moral good and what they think is the best. Heroes are mild, unassuming, humble. They want to better the environment and not themselves. Farah doesn't give a damn about herself. The fact that she smokes is a sign of that. The fact that, you know, she's willing to like risk her life over and over again for her country is a sign of that. This is literally a children's room. This is, oh god. Ugh. I'm not gonna lie, that's some decent level design. Yeah. So like if you've ever played Spec Ops, these are the same weapons, like improvised weapons, same exact model that Farah's people used. If you ever played Spec Ops, like you know that the fighting that you would do in Spec Ops, killing refugees, it was defined as okay because of the fact that you, as a member of the 33rd, you were trying to help those people, and because you were trying to help those people, it's okay to, if they're fighting you, it's okay because you went in with good intentions. It's not, but that's kind of how the game took that look, and eventually the game critiqued that. The game is, I would say, it's a good example of representation, but just something to bring up. Villains, however, the British Psychological Society, they basically compare them as the complete antithesis of protagonists. They have no altruism. They teach the exact opposite. Pure evil, in this case, could be seen as a lack of altruism in itself. I'm just gonna let this set piece happen. The checklist for villains, a lot of things, is characters that have influential evil that's spread. Al-Qatala in this game, we saw, like in the Breach and Clear, the Clean House segment, that the supporters of Al-Qatala would die for the people. They would always fight for the wolf. They're a little brainwashed. I'm not even like playing this game right now. I'm just walking. However, it is showing how incredibly influential the wolf is. He is kind of supernatural in his outreach, and he kind of looks the part too with his weirdly white eyes. Next thing is people who give a little but they take a lot. In this case, you can see this as how all the lives Al-Qatala takes without the lack of outright progress. I mean, Russia is still in control of this country, which they're somehow letting the Western forces fight in for some reason. And because of that, they still kill all these civilians and they take all these lives for what? And instead focus on fighting people in London, killing civilians in real places, not fictional countries like whatever these developers wanted. Urzikstan? I'm in not a good mood because of this game. Instead of actively helping their country, they instead take the lives of Western people. And because this game was made by Western people, they're taking from who they assume is the first person, like the people playing this game. They want the player to be like, okay, well, they're killing the lives of white people. They're killing the lives of British people or Western people. No, Middle Eastern people. That is why they're bad. However, nowhere did I see them put a focus on the lives of all the civilians in this country that Al-Qatala killed. I mean, like I showed you, there was a dead Middle Eastern woman on the floor, but the game didn't give you a cutscene for it. The game didn't tell you, like, outright, this is bad. Though, for the segment in London, they made you look at a suicide bombing. They made you look at it several times to see these civilians get killed. British Psychological Society also talks about how if you reveal too much about a villain's readers, well, this is in the case of literature, but readers may start empathizing with the villains because they reveal too much. However, on the other note, people now... who said this? Let me look at my notes. Yeah, Rami Ismail in his podcast with Danny O'Dwyer that I talked about. He basically talked about how people want more empathetic villains. They want more empathetic characters. And even Did I shoot him? Even Middle Eastern characters in books, they are nowadays, he's mentioned, like, villains are becoming more empathetic. You're able to empathize with them a little bit more, and because of that, that is still progress. I mean, and I agree, I think representation is a two-sided thing. Having, a Middle Eastern main character is cool, but also having a Middle Eastern villain whose main motivation for being a villain isn't the fact that he's just Muslim or Middle Eastern. It's amazing. Have him be a villain for other reasons. And this game kind of tries to do that at times. We'll see with a further plot line. British Psychological Society, continuing, they talk about the sweet spot of how much you're supposed to know about the villains. And at least in regards to the Wolf, you basically know nothing. You just know of his beliefs and the fact that he has kind of like a weirdly, like, he has this weirdly like pervasive viewpoint on things. Like he knows so much, and he has this way with words, and he's so powerful with his people. Easily where people spawned. I wonder if this is accurate, like grammatically correct. I can't speak Arabic, so I couldn't tell you. Civilians. I guess here is where they show Al-Qatala killing civilians. Which, I mean, I guess it's an attempt at something, but it's still not as stronger or powerful or impactful as the segment where they killed Western people. That might be a me issue, though, technically. Whoop. This gameplay-wise, I think this is probably my favorite in the campaign. It just, I'm a big fan of indoor corridor shooting at times. If the level design is this kind of tight and this guided, and like nowhere am I confused on where to go. I'm always given at least a couple of options. It's one of the more entertaining parts of the game, at least. Which is weird because the segment previously, we tried to do the same thing, kind of failed just because they had that MG that you had to avoid. Anything else from heroes and villains? So it's basically they want to push the point of relatability. They want you to be able to relate to your villain, at least with some semblance, just to see where they're coming from. And Farah's brother, he ends up becoming a villain partially, and I shot another. It's surprising. The game lets you kill white people. I didn't say that. I didn't say that. The game doesn't even make an attempt to make you empathize with the wolf, with the people under him. They do make you empathize with Hadir a little bit. I mean, I think the next session that I did after this one, before the re-recording, discussed that. Like, it discusses his backstory and Farah's backstory. It makes you understand why they are the way they are. Yeah. In the game, nowhere does this game try to make those characters seem complex, other than Hadir slightly. They're assuming that their players lack empathy. The British Psychological Society literally said understanding complex characters helps you train empathy, and by having could be an ambush. Like, he's straight up saying these dying civilians could have murderous intent for you. And I think it's this guy, maybe, or it's this guy. I'm trying to remember. Someone in here for sure. Like the fact that he speaks Arabic. Like, these people, like, look at oh my god. Look at how they're portrayed. There's bloody rags all over the floor. Like, this hospital is a shit show. And maybe it's because it was taken over by this regime. But maybe the developers are just saying, like, they didn't have these resources in the first place. I mean, like, you're telling me they made this wall dirty and chipped and painted? They made it this disgusting? Sure, the bullet holes could be them, but everything else, was it them? Yeah, so the developers assume the player has, like, little to no empathy. Oh, fuck that. And because they assume the worst of the player, they don't even try to make them empathetic, because if they assume the player can empathize with the villains, then, well, they couldn't be villains, and they can't risk that, so they can't give them anything to empathize with. That makes sense, yeah. Gameplay-wise, the M4, change of pace. So mechanically, I haven't talked all too much about how the mechanics reflect the ethos of the developers, but weapon-wise, the M4 was notoriously overpowered in the multiplayer. They actually nerfed it within the first couple weeks of the game. Oh my god. within the game being launched because of how effective it was in multiplayer. People were complaining. And still, if you look at the professional leagues of this game, most players still use the M4. The M4 is an American military assault rifle. It is used by real military forces to this day. I mean, to this day, this game takes place in modern times, but it's the good choice of the U.S. Army. The M4, the M16, and it has been since like the Vietnam War. The fact that it's the most effective weapon, as compared to say the AK-47, which is has Russian origins and has now been co-opted by countries all over the world. The FAMAS, which is a French weapon, that has also been co-opted by countries all over the world. The FAL, which is absolute trash, which is huge in Africa and the Middle East, at least by their military and police forces. The fact that the best gun is still an American weapon, it's showing their beliefs through gameplay. And I'm not saying they constantly were like, oh well, let's have it be this way because we hate all these other countries. It's just could be a side effect. They were like, okay, well, this American gun does really well. Well, I mean, it's just a really well-made gun. Is it actually? Who knows? This gun is not in the multiplayer. It's a 50 cal. Huh. God, the aesthetics of this level, like this is a children's hospital, the pediatric ward. God. If the developers had had at least tried to, the wolf, they literally give him a name, and compared to the allies who have like white or green text, he has outright red. And not only is it just his name and who he, like, usually it's their name and who they work for. For him, it's the name and his real name. And they show this, yep. Instead of a name and a code name, it's a code name and a name. And then they show this execution live on camera. I want to get out. I want to get the... I don't want to see that. The developers had made an attempt to create more empathetic antagonists and villains instead of just focusing on the one or two protagonists that they actually tried with. Then maybe they could have trained a little bit more altruistic thinking in their God, the game literally tells you how to solve that puzzle. I remember it got me the first time, granted, but I should have failed. I should have been paying more attention. God, symmetry. And they make you, they slow down your movement speed. They make you sit, and they make you see. Look at these children's drawings in Arabic. Look at these Arabic toys. They make you go around. And then you capture him. You hear the soldiers, instead of saying kill him or, you know, stop them, you just hear them say protect the wolf, protect their leader who's so powerful. Anyways, if the game developers had tried to make more relatable antagonists, then maybe, just maybe, they could be pushing this view, and they could have been training more empathetic thinking and altruistic thinking in their player base. So here at the U.S. Embassy, there's a protest because they have the wolf. A protest led by Al-Qatala. The Butcher is another secondary antagonist, and they have guns out. It's co-opting the imagery of social movements, protests with signs, with slogans, chanting. They sprinkle some AK-47s in there, some Middle Eastern motifs, and they call it a day.
I chose to take you alive. I could still change my mind.
You have the wrong man.
Lies. Tell them what you've done.
We did not steal the gas.
Who did?
Someone very dangerous.
Where is it?
I wish I knew.
The Butcher is outside. They'll burn the city if they have to.
Save
The frame rate kind of hits the fan there.
Join us.
Do not talk to her.
Hey, tap the brakes.
I am not your
It's weird because Hadir is the one who stole the gas.
I lead soldiers. You train killers.
But we are all killers here. No?
His face, the token Pixar eyebrow raise.
We're gonna breach.
God.
We gotta move.
And I mean, he makes a valid point. This is the thing. And I guess that is an attempt to have the players like empathize with him, but like he's still so cartoonishly evil that it doesn't matter. And here comes Captain Price and Kyle Garrick, straight from London. For some reason, sent him to the Middle East to shoot some brown people. I'm not saying that if they made more altruistic antagonists that they could have maybe stopped racism, but they could have at least shown their player base and had the intentions of maybe fixing some of the issues on how people perceive Middle Eastern people. I think the helicopter goes down here. Call of Duty loves their helicopter crash set pieces. Let's call back to Call of Duty 4. Oh, you actually have to crawl out. Wow, forgot about that. But literally, like, you had a helicopter crash after the token Middle Eastern raid level, which was the one previously. Granted, that was in response to a nuclear weapon, which I'm sure they'll pull out in the next game. Another callback to COD 4 with the helicopter blades. Captain Price's hair looks a bit different. It's weird because when they remade this game, like I said earlier, they try to make antagonists young, attractive. Breeding age is how the British Psychological Society defined it. But they made Captain Price a younger dude. Somehow he kept his gun, I didn't. They made him younger. They made him more attractive instead of this grizzled old war veteran. He's still a war veteran, and he's still been around for decades. But like, if you told me he was 26, I could see that. It's so weird, and I know this is just to maybe create more attractive like models and skins for marketing material, for you know, selling skins in the multiplayer. Alex, you know, he's a skin in the multiplayer now, and you have to pay for it, $10 for him, and he's a good-looking dude. And I think they did that consciously because all their multiplayer skins are either funny, like it's a Russian man in a tracksuit, which is a stereotype in itself. They're like hardcore and edgy, like Ghost, a character with like a skull mask who looks tier 1 as hell. The Butcher also has one. So do note that if I aim, the game sticks your cursor on villains, and outright I can't even shoot them in this segment, and it still stuck my cursor on them. It still does. Like, sticks to the center mass. They're trying to break this glass, like they're being fanatic. I'm not saying Call of Duty, they could have, yeah, Captain Price is like, he looks so different. You could Google a photo and see how different he looks. Can I open this door, please? Or I have to wait?
Open this now.
Everyone back.
You only want the wolf. No one else has to die today.
Who has the key card? I do.
So the thing is, you can open this,
Let them die.
and you get killed. The first casualty is truth. Like they throw these really heady, kind of just big galaxy brain quotes at you. I feel like it actually means anything. Notice, what does that even say? Happy hour? Probably some multiplayer thing. I'll just show this cutscene. He kills the father.
Save his life, Sergeant.
Give us the wolf.
And Captain Price won't, because he kills the child off screen. They literally have a child getting killed. And the game frames this as Captain Price saying it's okay. You know, we have to do this for the greater good. We need to keep the wolf, to find that gas. It's okay if kids die. Those people go God knows where. Did they just... They literally just despawn. What mission is this, actually? This is the embassy. Yeah, we're going up to Highway of Death. God, this segment bothered me. They don't let you get this gun until after they crash the wall. Yeah, and this is another section where civilians are everywhere and you can't really tell who the civilians are. Especially with this lighting, just the bright background causes all the enemies to just be a silhouette. And the fact that they're just a silhouette makes it hard to see who is a civilian and who's not. Thankfully, I didn't shoot a civilian that time. At least I hope. Because, you know, I've had kind of a bad record with that in this playthrough. Is anybody watching this? Oh, we have users in the chat. Cool. This shotgun model is a little too close up. Interesting. Different than the... This is bulletproof glass. For some reason, the U.S. Embassy has bulletproof glass all over it. And I'm shooting... So now the characters have a little more professional gear. because probably considering we're on their home turf now. And it's pushing the narrative that like in the Middle East that these people are a more organized force, that they have control, but in the West they have to fight low and dirty because they aren't in control. It really does break my heart seeing like the fidelity that this game goes to its modeling and its lighting. Like this looks so good. The sound effects are so good. Like look at this. I know it's not actual volumetric lighting, it's probably pre-baked, but like you could see dust in the air. That's insane. The fax machine is making sound. I can't open this door probably. Call of Duty's known for having Captain Price. I've got it. This is hiding a loading screen, but it's also making sure that like you're there. I didn't know you could shoot that guy. For the first time dead soldier. It's okay to kill that guy because he killed these guys. Dude's literally dying. In his dying moments, he's like, I'm gonna shoot these white people. God. Well, Kyle isn't white. Western people. Let me rephrase that. Oh, this segment of the game.
Lara, still fighting a good fight?
Always got them.
Ambassador's still inside, sir. He's trapped.
Okay, keep him on the line. He might be our way out.
So this is where we switch. Alex, this is Alex. I think this is the first time you've been in gameplay and been able to see him in the third person. I mean, you can see his model. He's kind of dressed more similar to the Western, to the Middle Eastern characters. He's wearing basically civilian clothing with a vest and this. I don't know the name of this. Why don't I know the name of this? I should know the name of this. This is like scarf around his neck. He looks kind of Middle Eastern. He has a random knee pad. He has ripped jeans with holes in them. You know, just still make him look cool and marketable with cool tattoos. He doesn't have a tribal tattoo. It's like a snake. Like, and he has lines in his head, either from scarring or just his barber sneezed. And like compare that to Hadir, who's just brown man, literally similar clothing, boots. He has the ew, those are nasty hiking boots. They're both in just regular civilian clothing, but it's like you can clearly tell they put way more effort in making Alex look cool compared to Hadir. Farah at least has this like pattern around her midsection. She has, you know, her bandana, and like she looks a little cooler. But like compare her to a Hadir or even Kyle. Kyle looks plain as hell. Alright, time to do this. Why is this dirty? Okay, so this is probably the worst segment of this game. These last couple missions are all over the place. So this is the ambassador. They kill him. And they didn't hear him yell, "Stacy, hide." Because apparently they don't know English. Because obviously Middle Eastern people can't speak English, even though it's still one of the most popular languages in the world, and a lot of Middle Eastern people still learn it. My dad learned it when he was a kid in Afghanistan. So now here we have Stacy. Using the shoot button, mind you, your primary interaction button in this game, you tell her to go places. It's a point and click section. And it's their attempt at a stealth section. And I think this is probably one of the braver things Call of Duty done, not tonally, but just gameplay-wise. Because it's a new mechanic that's completely divergent from the regular game.
There's a cabinet at the end of the hall. At the door. Go now.
And obviously he's just telling her like these vague directions, like this wouldn't actually work. And this is not how security cameras work in real life. This is some like Splinter Cell Dishonored kind of gameplay like concession. Get there, go to the pillar. So here we see the butcher. Again, probably killing a civilian. And that's Kyle's tone. That's the fucking butcher. Like he knows this dude is a terrible person and he hates this man. He hates this man. Kyle already hates these people because of what they did in London. So, because he's a cop. He loves his city.
There's a cart near the bookshelves. Go now.
This shows his disdain for the butcher just even before we get to probably the worst part. So there's a dude pulling up over there. Which way is he gonna go? How does he not see her? Go there. They're pretty liberal with the timing on this. They're not actually pretty liberal in real life, but maybe they are kind of liberal. Yeah, they're not leftist. They're a little liberal. Like we see Western people just Americans just chilling, you know, like dead. And obviously she's gonna stop to help her friend because, you know, that's American people are empathetic. They look out for one another. And they're not willing, like the regular everyman is not willing to, or every woman in this case is not willing to ignore others, ignore their morality for the greater good. But the soldiers are.
We'll get you there, Stacy. You're almost there. He's gone. Go to that cubicle now.
No.
The other cubicle. Go now.
Wait.
Get to the desk. Go to the other cubicle.
I don't have any cameras I can switch to, can I? Oh, I do. So she's there. I'll tell her to go here. What does next cubicle even mean? Oh. They still make your screen bloody. I don't even know why you need her. I think she has a key card that you need. And I'm not gonna lie, she's probably my favorite character in this game, just because of this random moment. Go there. Why does she take that long way around? It's since it is a side, like Call of Duty is notorious for their side content to not be as brilliantly coded as the multiplayer or even the campaign. Even though this is part of the campaign, but like the divergence in gameplay from the regular boots on the ground stuff is just telling of the amount of effort they put into stuff like this. I feel like this was just a couple programmers with like a really cool idea, granted, who were like, oh, like let's be creative.
There's a guard blocking the exit. You'll have to distract him. What do we need to do? Get to that shredder. Now turn it on. Other side now.
And you see his animations kind of bug out there.
Get to the exit. Run.
So we pass this segment. He doesn't see her because he's oblivious. Oh! You see Captain Price and Bear just gun these people down.
Roger that, boss.
I'm done with my notes for today. I wasn't really pacing them all too well. Didn't last time either. Okay, moving on. Suleiman. They mispronounce a lot of the Middle Eastern names. They don't say it even in the proper way. I mean, like Farisame, like they don't say her name. I'm not even gonna bother trying to say it. But my name is Sophia Law, for God's sakes, and I've been called Safi for literally over a decade by some people, Western people. It's so strange that they give so much respect to the stereotyped version of the Middle East. By that I mean like they go out of their way to make it like, oh, you know, like the dusty, deserty Middle East, let's make it look like that. And let's put all this effort into making it look like that. And they did. Oh, God. And because they did, like, instead, they could have put that effort towards, you know, telling the Middle East in a truthful way. Showing the place in a truthful way. I know it might not sell. Because probably to your average American, this is what they think the Middle East looks like. And yeah, this is a little more developed than most, but it's telling that the fact that the more developed area in this game is the U.S. Embassy. You know, because Western money. Sell the shotgun. I do remember liking this segment a little bit more, even though it eventually... Yeah, the gameplay is not that bad here. Go, it's not safe here. It's kids. The soldiers are here. And he's yelling. We're compromised. He knows that they're compromised because the kids are yelling. And obviously the kids are on the bad guy's side. You could shoot his TV and scare him. That didn't even crack the glass. He just got spooked. I feel bad for doing that. I'm sorry. I'm gonna load a checkpoint. No, I'm not gonna load a checkpoint. The game oftentimes kind of like do this menial task. Ever since Modern Warfare 2, it's been a meme that Call of Duty is like the Ramirez meme, where you have some military higher up yelling at you to go do something mundane, like open the door, check the body. There's children's toys here, like, for God's sakes. Go check the body. Also, like, the scale of some things in the game, like that soccer ball, I don't know why, but I feel like it's a little too small. No, actually, it's a little too small. The scale of these games, items in these games, oftentimes are a little bit off because they do outsource the modeling and the texture work to a lot of companies in Asia because the work is cheaper. And like, so even in the American Embassy safe house, there's a bunch of Middle Eastern tones, these like floor mattresses and seating. Where's the hookah? Like, come on. They have Middle Eastern people. It's interesting to have Middle Eastern people working at the U.S. Embassy. Like, I would not expect Infinity Ward to go out of their way to do that. There's still guns everywhere, obviously, because this is Call of Duty. I can't pick that up. I already have it. But like the pictures is just modern artwork. It's not fully. It's a mix of East and West aesthetically, which is still kind of. I think that is kind of cool. You know, it shows the land in a telling way, but I don't know. I still find it so weird, knowing where Infinity Ward's located, that they went out of their way to make the game look like this. Few objectives. They know I'm going slow. I'm gonna speed up the pace. So this segment is probably it's one of the flashier segments, I think, in terms of scripting, because it's a turret segment where you have control of mortars. And
They'll come from the other side.
Hey, no.
Because I would.
Right. Reposition across the roof. Now.
so you're supposed to be on this rooftop.
I want a line of sight
Are
across
there any weapons here? Because I don't have a grenade launcher. Let me go on to the other roof. So he wants you to look at that cafe. This is the start of a segment where you kind of you hold out. Hadir, this is Hadir's roof with Alex. Alex is doing the talking for us. Because the game waited so long for us.
They're messengers.
Obviously, Farah knows how they communicate. So you can hear in their voice, their tone, that they know these people are bad. And I don't know why, but I feel like Alex and Kyle are just itching to shoot these guys. They're bugging out. This ain't right. Like, these soldiers are scared for themselves. They're trying to. They know something's about to happen. More unknowns, and like you can tell they're holding guns. Like the player's not blind. She names them as fighters, not soldiers, specifically. Interesting vernacular. But you can't take the shot. It seems like this is the first time they don't let you shoot.
All quiet. Hang on, got movement. Midfield, 11 o'clock. Where? Negative. Just the way.
Hold your mouth. They're watching us, Captain. Another word, and I'll send
This
you out.
music is intense. It's like pounding and pulsing in my head. They shoot out the lights.
They're flying.
Quiet.
Eyes on the grass.
Launch a flare. We'll pick them up from the light.
Illumination.
You can't even see.
Load us up, Kyle.
So it's your job to launch these flares, and you only have 4. 4 flares to kind of just see where the people are. And you're able to just shoot them before they even give you the okay to shoot. Because, you know, Kyle doesn't like authority. He wants to be able to do what he wants. It's interesting to note that all the weapons in this game are hit scan. More realistic shooters usually have a not hit scan but projectile based firing, where it actually takes time. Like, the game renders a bullet object, maybe not renders, but like it creates a bullet object, and the bullet has mathematical calculations to get it to hit a target, and then it actually checks for collision, as opposed to hit scan, where it basically just shoots a laser from your bullet immediately the moment you shoot and sees if it hits somebody. It's still collision based, but so Call of Duty, the campaign is entirely hit scan. Warzone, however, its battle royale is projectile-based shooting because it's a balancing reason. They don't want you to be able to hit scan and like basically laser people from across the map because they know that's not fun to play against. And it's the more realistic choice, so it kind of puts on this facade that the game is more tactical because of it. Is the game more tactical because of it? I don't know. Rami in his in that podcast I discussed like, several times talked about like Arabistan always has the imagery is always of a Middle Eastern man in the back of a truck with an AK-47, and that literally was right there. A half track, I think is the name of it technically. Send it. No.
Check your shots. Make them count.
You can hear the soldiers getting desperate. You can hear the desperation in Price's voice too.
Trucks moving south far into the field.
Copy.
Probably got the fuck out of Dodge.
Repositioning.
Obviously they're bad guys. Obviously. I hope my sarcasm is like getting across. My sense of humor. So now they're launching mortars against you. See, I'm able to just laser these dudes from across this huge field, but if this was Warzone... oh, better gun. Give me that better gun. Cool, thank you. It still uses the same sound effects from Call of Duty 4. Conscious callbacks. Yeah, I don't even think it's them reusing assets, because, I mean, nothing else was reused other than... I'm sure they even remade the sound effect just to fit this specific tone. So now they have Alex, or Alex? Yeah, Alex on the mortars. They want you now, like, fighting. This is where it picks up a bit. That desperate tone is still here, because you're literally fighting tons of dudes. Cook that frag. I don't think the game ever teaches you to cook frags, but it's just where you hold the frag for longer. It blows quicker when it hits the ground. See, the lighting in this portion is like literally beautiful. Like it looks so good. They put so much energy. This is also kind of another callback to Call of Duty 4, The Bog. It's a mission where you basically fight across a large, like, grassy field. Though in this case, instead of pushing through a grassy field, you're fighting enemies pushing towards you. Yeah, they literally get to your doorstep. You kill an incredible amount of people here. Reminder, Kyle is a cop. He's not a trained military soldier. He's not some crazy special forces operative. He's literally just a cop. Maybe not a street cop. I could see him being a little more like in-depth than that. But he's still just a fucking cop. Is this the training police get? I mean, the way they handle guns, you would think not. But... That's Pharaoh. Yeah, it's also to note that like they make you move towards virtually the same kind of building, just like a slightly different angle. Sometimes I think these models are Hadir. Like it literally concerns me, and I mean you'll see why eventually. But this is a spoiler playthrough. Like Hadir ends up being a bad guy. He's the one who stole the gas. So it makes sense that he visually is more aesthetically close to Al-Qatala than, say, the Western characters. Where's Price?
Sergeant,
Yes.
waiting on you at the door of the north building. Open up! Stay low, and do not leave this building. Sergeant, load up, come and see me.
Oh. I'm a streaming hater.
Copy 4-1, stand by for targets.
Yeah. I just have two of the same gun. Are they dead ass? Yeah, okay, cool. So we're dead ass.
Pick it up.
Like, they model a server room, for God's sakes. Like, do they need to get this deep? Also, why is the... Can the Middle East have a wall without chipping paint? Like, this is the U.S. Embassy, for God's sakes. This is the one time they can make it look like it's not poverty, according to their, like, visual consistency. But even then, they break their only visual consistency to at least fit their other visual consistency, which is that the Middle East is a shithole, apparently. What is this? Oh. Yep. So, our Kyle here picks up a really large vape. Kidding. He picks up a laser designator. This is also from Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare. So yeah, drone warfare. You actively partake in using a drone against these forces. Drone warfare in itself is incredibly, highly problematic and highly criticized. But now apparently it's the fact that they're using these like problematic tropes is so telling. Like partially I can tell it's for shock and awe value, like shock value. Last time I did this, it glitched out by the way, so let's hope it doesn't again. The Call of Duty loves doing like stuff like this for headlines. I can see that's probably why they did Clean House, that entire segment, just to get a headline, to stir up the anti-cop crowd. Yeah, last time I did this, they made me sit here for so long.
Rifle.
Did you see a weapon? They actually call you out for that. But you don't get a failure state.
You've got enemies inbound from the east, over.
Where is the east? That's the south, that's the east. This is a gameplay segment, you actually have to lead your shots, which is interesting because I just brought up Warzone and how they make you lead your shots usually through regular gameplay, but just not in this. You do need to lead the grenades. That's the one thing you do need to lead. Also, enemies drop way faster in the campaign than the multiplayer. Another tonal difference between the two. I'm not sure if I'll actually get to some campaign gameplay tonight. I might do it tomorrow. I'm getting kind of tired. It's also Ramadan, so I kind of need to have my second there. Because I've been fasting and incredibly dehydrated all day. So the game, like, also, like, they kind of hold your hand in regards to controls. They really do assume that the players are stupid. Sometimes that like you don't know the basic controls. And yeah, I am forgetting to use the laser designator at times. It's because I don't really want to, because this isn't fun to me. It's flashy, it's a spectacle, but I don't like being a cop, pointing a laser and blowing people up. Pointing and shooting is the whole point of this game, though the other pointing and shooting, it takes a little bit more effort. Who's shooting? See, there's even like laser blur lines on the lens of this. God. The amount of detail in this. Yeah, so I'm through with my notes for this. So it's more of a playthrough. If you're here for like the analytical commentary, there's probably gonna be some like little things here and there. But feel free to hop on out. So snipers in this segment use lasers or lens. It's a visual communication Call of Duty has recently started picking up, at least in this game that I've noticed. They're putting lenses or lasers on far away enemies. It's kind of tropey. It's action movie tropey because why would a sniper use a laser? No lens glint is that loud. Where am I supposed to go? There? Oh, I have to go down there. This is another big combat arena, but they only make you use or like run along the left side. What was I saying? I completely forgot what I was saying. I got sidetracked. It's so easy to lose your focus when playing this game because it feels like there's 1,000 things going on in a second and absolutely everything. Yeah, the developers assume the worst of their players, that they don't know how to play, so they constantly remind them L2 to mount. Let me get low on ammo. I'm a compulsive reloader. like X square to reload. Like if you can't, like if you forget your reload button. Games like Fortnite give you visual indicators around a crosshair because that's where your eyes are pointing at usually on how many bullets are still in your clip or how much resources you still have, health, something like that. I know Half-Life did the same years ago in 2004? 2004, Half-Life 2. Yeah, so it's an old thing, but Call of Duty still hasn't picked that up because, I mean, they want to keep this clear visual language that they always usually have. How do I get in there? Oh, I can't jump over it. Bro. Oh, God. Boost him up. Even Hadir, like, he's using an AUG, which I think is an Australian gun. But even if he's using a Western weapon, they need to throw some tape on it. They need to throw some dirt and grime. Because, you know, he can't have a clear new gun. Because he's obviously a freedom fighter. And Fair is only using AK-47s, because Middle Eastern people can't use anything other than that. Remember the scene where he barges through the door and pushes someone up against the wall in a house? Remember that. They'll have a callback to it later. This is the second time they have someone lying on the floor. Call of Duty usually never has that. I know Modern Warfare 2 had it in some missions of snipers, but almost always, I don't remember what I was talking about. They're just standing there kind of confused. I'm not even going to aim for this segment. I'm just going to do that. The Semtex grenades in the campaign, it would take way longer to blow up compared to the multiplayer. See, Kyle says the building's clear before he even checks every corner. The game just tries to push you from set piece to set piece a lot. Moving forward.
They're bringing in more fighters.
Did I not do anything? Yeah, so the grenade launcher is kind of like a win button for parts like this. Burning palm tree. It's weird because I don't even think palm trees are that like everywhere in the Middle East. Maybe in like touristy places, kind of like the same way that like in California they threw palm trees up everywhere because architecturally that's how California is supposed to look like, I guess. Like I don't know why it's like this here. Also, it's so interesting to see that the soldiers gave up their positions here at the embassy house and let the civilians in there die because, you know, like they would rather prioritize killing a mortar crew than protecting their own civilians. Interesting notes. That's Alex. See, I mean, I mentioned how he looks visually similar language-wise to the enemies in this game, and I just confuse him for one. Why is it always white trucks? I know there's a reason for it. There's a specific Ford model truck that's really popular in the Middle East, and therefore has been co-opted by a lot of like terror groups. There's a grenade right there. But I don't remember it off the top of my head. Imagine being the Ford Motor Company and just having a stereo. Oh shit! Thank God for broken pathing. Yeah, they just launched another suicide bomber at me. I find that that's an enemy type in this. Rubs me the wrong way. Can I get a different gun? Cool. The Uzi. Uzi was in other Call of Duty appearances, I think the Call of Duty 4 and Modern Warfare 2, the Uzi had incorrect iron sights, and gun nuts would get so mad. I think this is like the second game to actually fix that. You could save or have Stacy die. I think it's okay if she dies here. Like, the game doesn't make you fail. They took the wolf.
He's gone.
They breached the wall.
And they're mad that the wolf is gone, but they're not mad that the civilians died.
Hadir, get your team to the crossroads. Bring everything you've got.
Yes, sister.
What's the plan for her?
To the crossroads.
Terrorist cells in the city will hide them. Bravo will clear house to house in search. My people will help you. If they try to escape to the mountains, there is only one road. Tariq al-Mut. the highway of death. The Russians bombed it during the invasion, killing the people trying to escape. There is a village at the crossroads. I sent Hadir and his fighters there to prepare an ambush. Alex and I will join them and take up firing positions above the road.
So,
wait for the wolf.
The Highway of Death is a real thing. It happened, I think, in Iraq. It happened there, where the U.S. actually bombed enemy like the governments, the government they were fighting is Iraq, I think. It was civilians and military officials and like soldiers fleeing. But the fact that there were civilians in that convoy, and the U.S. bombed it to living hell, killed everyone there. And it's like it's literally a war crime that is well documented that nobody has paid for, because it's the U.S. They don't arrest their war criminals, they give them pardons.
They go undercover.
So here, you're there. So let me look at this. It's a vehicle graveyard. It's visually so striking, knowing what she just said, that the Russians bombed it, killing people. But the developers were too scared to straight up say like that the West did this, that Americans did this. They have to throw the blame onto another Western villain.
What happened to him?
He died fighting.
So this scene, you can actually see them finish their construction to build a sniper hole. It's so interesting. Like, they put the effort in for that. Also, it's really interesting ethnically how a lot of these people, like I said earlier, like in the last stream, broad brushstrokes for the Middle East. This is an amalgamation of all these Middle Eastern stereotypes. Well, Middle Eastern people actually look so incredibly different. I know Afghanistan, there's like, I think around a dozen like ethnic groups, and they're all visually distinct. They all have their own accents. They all have their own customs and cultures, and they all have different class statuses. And it's interesting here because like I've seen a lot of different facial types between the Middle Eastern people in this, and if they are painting the Middle East in a broad stroke, I'm not sure if they're doing this in a way that's like, oh, all Middle Eastern people can look like this or that or this. Like, let's just put them all in the game in this fictional country, or if they're trying to imply that, like, you know, like people can look different. Different ethnic groups exist. It is to note that Hadir and Fair are really fair-skinned. So Hadir sniper rifle is specifically called Hadir sniper rifle. It's the only weapon in the game called Hadir sniper rifle, and it's probably the strongest characterization he's gotten to at this point. He likes his guns. He gives them pronouns. They're gendered. He genders his guns. What a cool dude. She's a spotter, and she's a spotter with a sniper scope. She doesn't have... So the game makes you go prone. This is a sniping tutorial. Like I said earlier, the game usually doesn't have projectile-based weaponry. Here they do for this one sniper segment.
Look for the glinting light near the highway.
Got it.
What's up? Ali. Raza. So in Call of Duty 4, there was a couple missions that went, I don't want to say viral, but that were known critically for the things that they did. There was All Gillied Up, the sniper mission. There was
Look for my team in the tall grass.
Yeah, so there's All Gillied Up, the sniper mission. There was Shock and Awe, the mission where a nuclear bomb goes off and you die in it. And I think those were the two big ones. So in All Gillied Up, you basically played a sniper, and you had to.
Target is 400 meters away. Aim 2 notches above it.
2 notches, got it.
The wind will push your shots off target. Use the flags for direction.
All Gillied Up had you as a sniper in Russia, fighting Russians. You played as Captain Price in that level, actually. But instead, now you're playing as Alex, and they're bringing back the gameplay mechanics of that level. That level had one shot where it was projectile based. Where it was projectile based, and that one shot was on the game's main antagonist. Your biggest fan. Foreshadowing. Now this game co-ops that. Like in that level, you specifically use the flag on a car to calibrate your bullets. And then and your NPC in that level, that's the hill there. Your NPC in that level, he basically was like examining for the Coriolis effect and do all this mathematics in your head just to make it seem more cool than it actually was. And this is just doing that same thing, because this is not how snipers actually calibrate their shots. I don't think it is. I'm not a sniper, and I don't know many that I like. Oh, not the first shot. It's gonna be a reference to another Call of Duty game. I heard that. Call of Duty 4, in your tutorial, the knife to like use your melee attack, you had to knife a watermelon, and then Gaz, I think, who Kyle Garrick is a replacement of, said your fruit killing skills are remarkable. So yeah, let's take a look at this. There's like destroyed vehicles all over the road, and this looks old. Not only is it destroyed cars, but it's destroyed tanks, and you can't really tell if this is Russian tanks or the Urzikstan military. I would assume not, though, because I mean the Urzikstan militia, like military, doesn't seem like they even were a thing. What? Are they moving oil pump? I think these are dogs. Yeah. I'm not gonna kill them. That's messed up. I love dogs. God, I don't want to look at that. Let me look at the aesthetics. Like, they put so much detail into this. And this is probably incredibly difficult to render, too. I'm sure you could see, if you look closely, every time I zoom in on an area, it re-renders everything there. Like, the detail, the level of detail, you can see that pop in, that little piece of debris pop in. One vehicle approaching from the east. Where's the east? East.
Looks like we finally got some
company. Yep.
They're scouts for the wolf. Hold your fire. Wait for a clean shot.
They're probably gonna like stop near flag. I assume this one. Look at that mortar that's already there. That's gonna be used later in the mission, but they already put it there. They forget some things. They cut some corners in places. Also, the fact that they part of the aesthetics for this mission is oil pumps in flat desert dunes, like hazy, desaturated colors. This is Arabistan, like fundamentally shit-fuckistan. So 400 meters, 2 notches, probably this way. I'm gonna wait to get a collateral because I'm sure they're gonna let me do that. Collateral is like shooting 2 people at once with 1 bullet. I'm not gonna wait. I shot him in the toe and he died. It's kind of messed up that the term collateral is collateral, because you usually think of it as collateral damage, damage done unintentionally against like people who don't deserve it. Bring in the truck. They don't even want you to cover them; they just want you to look at it.
True. What happens if you don't find it?
I have to.
Alex says, I have to, because he has some CIA handler that he apparently has to appease really mournfully and scornfully. Like, he hates the fact that he has to do this. Like, bro, you signed up to be a military member. Why are you mad that they're giving you orders? It seems like he just wants to kill people. Also, some of these names I don't recognize. And I'm Afghan, so I'm sure there's Arab names that I don't know. Because I'm not Arab, technically. I'm closer to Persian. I'm Afghan. But, like, it's still so annoying. Because, like, I don't trust these developers. These could be incredibly fake names. Nida is a real name. I have an uncle named that. Oh. Look at how much ammo he is. He has... Fight well cousins. Because apparently all Middle Eastern people are related, and they refer to each other as such. And kind of culturally, it's true. I call a lot of people my uncle or aunt, even though they're not my uncle or aunt. But I don't trust it when it was written by a non-Middle Eastern person.
Closer. Go on. Don't be shy.
This level's kind of boring. Stylistically, it was cool. Gameplay-wise, it gets really interesting, I would say. It gets really fun. And it does test your aim and your skills probably more than any other mission in this game, but...
Detonate the truck, Alex.
you actually have to wait to hear that explosion. Like they went out of their way to add travel time to that. And there's well-placed gas cans. God damn, dude. Good kill. They would say that in the other Call of Duty 4 missions where you're flying an AC-130, killing people on the ground. Check the windows. Got him. Got him. Got him. Got him. See, once you get the hang of the angles, it's not even hard because the game doesn't even try all too much to change it. Collateral. I think you get an achievement for that, but I already did. See, all these enemies in this segment kind of explode into like watermelon chunks. I'm sure it's the same like rendering technique too. But like, I noticed when the other people shot them, they still had this cartoonishly huge explosion. These are, what caliber did you say? Something Lapua rounds? Like, that's a big caliber. That is nothing to like, to joke about. It's a cartoonishly large caliber too. Probably because you are fighting people, and they just, bigger caliber equals cool, apparently. Yeah, so this is where the level gets more interesting. You have enemies on all sides surrounding you. Oh, they throw Molotovs at you. That's kind of cool. The AK, the weapon that all the Middle Eastern people use, is kind of dog shit in this game. It's kind of really dog shit. What killed me? We must focus to see the lights. Aristotle. Yeah, this game is bullshit sometimes. It's some bullshit. Here, it basically becomes point and shoot. I think it actually becomes hit scan at a certain range, which most games actually do that when they have. At least Call of Duty has been doing that. At least when it does incorporate hit scan into the multiplayer components, it's hit scan up to a certain range and then past that range becomes projectile, which is a really interesting and clever workaround to still have the tight gunplay when you're up close. Oh my god. Holy shit, I did not enjoy seeing that. This is gonna control like ass. That's Hadir. Yeah, the recoil is crazy. So you're noticing, I don't know if you noticed, but the weapon pickups all look a little different. No, AK-47 looks exactly the same. So this game, one of its biggest marketing features was the gunsmith mechanic, where you can customize the receiver, the barrel, like a bunch of different aspects of the gun. It's very minute differences. And they decided to incorporate that in the campaign by just having every gun be randomized. Which is cool for weapons variety. Gameplay-wise has interesting implications, but it's tonally so strange seeing like weapon attachments that I'm like, oh, I unlocked that at level 58. When in reality, when like it's in the hands of refugees fighting to save their country, you know. So the mortar team segment is, yeah, it's not that interesting. You basically just fight. You just aim and shoot. And the hard part is figuring out the aiming scheme for it, like the just finding them.
There's still a mortar out there.
God.
Left side.
Come on over. I remember this was incredibly hard to hit. She specifically calls it a suicide truck, dude. Because Al-Qatala cannot, you know, obviously wouldn't make the same kind of vehicles that Ferris people do, where it's like drones that like explode on contact without killing at least the driver. It kills other people, and that's apparently okay.
wolf must be coming, or they wouldn't send these forces to clear the way.
Start planting IEDs, brother. Hadir and I will reinforce.
So IEDs stereotypically are improvised explosive devices used against Western forces or military members to just they're bombs. They're just mines and bombs. Resupply. You go to this cave to resupply. Remember this. There's some interesting things in here. The IEDs and in media usually are used against Western soldiers, and they're given basically for a Western soldier to have like a sad backstory. They were injured in an IED attack. That is like stereotypically what is done. Like, oh, like John lost his leg, or so did Gerald lost an arm. And here, putting it in the hands of Pharaoh's forces, yes, it is showing that they are a ragtag group of people trying to fight for their country, but it's also saying, this will probably just be easier to use, it's also saying that, like, oh, like, they're using the same things that stereotypically in media, it's what harms our soldiers. Again, this is an American, not again, but this is an American perspective on this.
Captain Price is calling on the radio. He says it's urgent.
Echo 3-1 for actual. Alex.
Is that a real name? Oh my god!
Get down!
Troops in contact, actual.
Stay low. Don't let him see you.
Copy. On our way.
God damn.
Those shots came from the highway.
Where's dude at? And you have to agree. So the thing is, loading times are so fast in this generation, and they've been getting faster, that... Oh my god, why is that the checkpoint? That,
Stay low. Don't let him see you.
Those quotes are harder to read. Where they at? Where they at?
Picking us off! One gets lighted!
Wind shift.
It's much stronger now. You'll have to adjust. 4 notches to the left.
Reacquire.
She just straight up says, like, how many notches?
He's repositioning. He's repositioning. Got him.
Good kill, Alex.
Alcatala is regrouping.
Across the highway.
This could be him.
Interesting how the moment you shoot at them once, they like stop. So then they get bombed by MiGs. And then your antagonist shifts to the Russians. Because the Russians are so ignorant that they don't dictate the difference between Al-Qatala and the militia.
Barkov's army will be here
The fact that there's a three-sided conflict here, I think the developers thought it meant that they were going to have like this deep, complex plot, when in reality it's just some bullshit. Just because you have more forces at play doesn't mean they're all not paper thin. Where are they at? Yeah. So this segment, Russian tanks come in, and since you have such a big gun, you're able to pop their wheels. You need to pop 3 wheels on each car. And the thing is, they get easier to hit the more wheels you shoot. So it's interesting because the challenge of the segment gets easier after you get past the hard parts. Which, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, but like, yeah, I think I got most of them. Can I get that? No. Yeah, so now you're fighting the Russians, and they have tanks, and they're way more well-equipped, and the level gets way harder, because apparently the Russian forces, since they're more organized, they're more difficult to fight. And I know it's just standard level progression, but thematically it's just interesting seeing that shit. Winning collaterals for days. Did I get 3 people there? Oh, Dude survived that. He's covered with blood. At least they don't let you shoot them at instant people. That's nice. Well, Mom, I'm in class. It's for class. Sorry about that. Mom, I told him that I was up a second in. Did you get touched on? No, it's when you skin in? No. 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 Sorry. Okay. Yeah, so this segment is kind of, it's literally the same. I'm getting bored. Because it kind of pushes itself, but gameplay-wise, it does. Maybe because last time I didn't get the tanks as well, the stakes are a little higher. And I was playing on a higher difficulty. It's just a little too easy. The game, I would say itself, is just pretty. It's just too easy. I have to go over there. Very powerful explosives. That's what he calls them. And he's referring to a truck that they're using. Let me move this. Close this door. He's referring to this truck that they're gonna use. And like earlier in the mission, you stopped bombing trucks before, but apparently now it's okay. It's not okay, because Hadir's doing them, and inside is the chemical weapons.
Yes! Now we send it back to the... Are in the bunker! Come quickly!
So you basically get blindsided, and you see Farah's forces, and Farah freaking out over the fact that he's using the chemical weapons. And Farah obviously hates these chemical weapons, and you'll see why in the next mission. And he does this. He sacrifices the lives. He takes a lot without giving a little. This is Hadir shift into an antagonist. He doesn't care about sacrificing lives. And the thing is, he's doing the same exact thing the main protagonists of this game do, which is make the hard decisions and give up specific lives and do the dirty things in order for the right cause. But it's not okay because it's Hadir doing it. It's not okay because the Middle Eastern man is doing it. And obviously chemical weapons are not okay, but the fact that they made that his turn, they made that his shift, and if Captain Price did it, it would be framed incredibly differently. It's so telling.
We had no choice, Barra. All bets are off now. No, not like this. Sister. Alex. Listen to me. I stole the gas from the Russians. To help us. Only to help us. Tell Farah. Tell her, Alex.
So then he runs away. It's such a weird interaction, this scene, and they needed to solve that MacGuffin hunt. With that scene, I'm going to the menu here. I don't know if you guys can see it, but yeah. So they had to solve the MacGuffin hunt with that final climactic set piece. Some bull. It's not good. And it's just interesting seeing how now officially they're trying to reframe it as something that was okay. This is when now they're finally going to Farah's characterization and Hadir's characterization, and they're actually giving them a plot line. And it's instead of focusing on Alex and Kyle and Price. Well, they're still going to be focusing on Price. The next mission is basically Farah's backstory. It's told from her eyes, and it's a lot. Also, it explains Hadir's viewpoint on these things, and kind of explains why he's so scared of Farah and scared for her, and why he would go to any means to fight for her. I'm going to stop now. Thank you to whoever stuck around, and thank you for watching this. Yeah, so watch the next stream. It's already done. see the rest of the game. Hopefully, I'm pretty sure the next stream finishes the game. I'm not sure if it's 1 or 2. Alright, bye-bye.